What if I told you that a war raged in the heavens before humanity ever set foot on Earth? A war so intense, it shaped the course of existence as we know it. Imagine beings of unimaginable power, created to serve a divine purpose, yet some chose rebellion. Their choices didn't just alter their fate, they changed ours. These are the stories of angels and fallen angels, celestial beings who once stood in glory, but fell into darkness. Have you ever wondered why evil exists? Why does humanity face temptation, corruption, and chaos? The answers lie in an ancient cosmic conflict. Lucifer, once the most radiant of all angels, dared to challenge the Creator himself. His pride ignited a rebellion that led to his downfall, transforming him into Satan, the adversary of mankind. But he wasn't alone. Semyaza and the Watchers descended to Earth, sowing destruction through forbidden knowledge. Azazel taught humanity violence and vanity, while Beelzebub became synonymous with decay and despair. These aren't just myths or legends, they're lessons etched into the fabric of our reality. They warn us about the dangers of pride, ambition, and disobedience. Yet, they also point to hope. What can we learn from these stories? How do they impact our lives today? Stay with me as we unravel the mysteries of angels, their fall, and the battle between light and darkness that continues to shape our world. Long ago, before the earth took its first breath, God crafted the angels, beings of pure spirit, radiant and eternal, born to serve His divine will. Imagine them, shimmering with light, their voices a chorus of harmony echoing through the vastness of heaven. They were not mere servants, but extensions of His glory, each one unique and perfect in its purpose. Their existence was a symphony of devotion, a dance of loyalty beneath the infinite gaze of their Creator. The heavens glowed with their presence, a realm of peace where time itself seemed to bow in reverence. Yet, within this perfection, a shadow stirred. Some angels, though bathed in divine light, felt the stirrings of something darker, something forbidden. Pride began to whisper in their hearts, soft at first, like a breeze rustling through a still forest. It grew louder, more insistent, until it roared like a storm. What was it that turned them? Was it envy, watching God's boundless power shape worlds they could never command? Was it ambition, a yearning to surpass their current status and ascend to the throne itself? Whatever the spark, it ignited a fire within them, one that could not be contained. These restless spirits gathered in secret. Their once harmonious voices now murmured dissent. They questioned their roles and limits. Why should they serve forever? Why should their light be dimmed beneath His? The rebellion gained traction, rapidly dispersing throughout the ranks. They were no longer content to reflect God's glory. They wanted to seize it for themselves. It was a betrayal so profound, it shook the foundations of heaven itself. The air grew heavy. The light flickered. A war was brewing, one that would fracture the divine order. God, in His omniscience, saw it all. He knew their hearts and felt the weight of their defiance. His response was not rash, but resolute. Justice demanded action. With a voice that thundered across the cosmos, He summoned His loyal angels, those who still knelt in awe of His name. The rebels had no chance against such might. The clash was cataclysmic, a tempest of light and shadow. Swords of fire met shields of will. The heavens trembled as the traitors fought, desperate to claim what was never theirs. In the end, they fell. They vanished from grace, akin to ashes from a dying flame. Their wings, once luminous, withered into darkness. Their songs of praise twisted into cries of anguish. Heaven expelled them, a purging of the corrupt from the pure. These fallen angels landed in a void of their making, forever severed from the light they once knew. They became something else, something cursed, something feared. Their rebellion marked the beginning of a cosmic struggle, a tale of pride and punishment that would echo through eternity, drawing humanity into its shadowed grasp. In the radiant courts of heaven, where light danced like liquid gold, there shone an angel unlike any other. Lucifer, the morning star, the bearer of light. Picture him, a being so breathtakingly beautiful that even the stars paled in his presence. His wings shimmered with hues no mortal eye could fathom. Each feather was a testament to his splendor. His voice could weave melodies that stirred the soul, a symphony of power and grace. He was God's masterpiece, the pinnacle of creation, entrusted with a rank so high that he stood closest to the divine throne. The other angels gazed upon him in awe, their whispers filled with reverence for his unmatched brilliance. But beneath this perfection, a storm brewed. Lucifer's heart, once a mirror of God's glory, began to fracture. Pride seeped in, slow and insidious, like ink spreading across a pristine page. He looked upon his radiance and wondered, why not more? Why should he bow when he could stand equal? Envy gnawed at him as he watched God's infinite power shape galaxies and command existence itself. Was he not worthy of such dominion? The seed of rebellion took root, fed by a hunger that grew wild and untamed. He began to dream of a throne not beside God's, but above it, a dream as intoxicating as it was blasphemous. Lucifer was no solitary dreamer. Come with me, he urged. Why serve when we can rule? His charisma was a weapon, sharp and irresistible. One by one, he drew them in. Thousands of angels, their loyalty swayed by promises of freedom, of power. They became his legion, a choir of defiance, singing his anthem of uprising. Heaven's harmony faltered. The air thickened with tension. The once peaceful realm, now a powder keg, awaiting a spark. The rebellion was no longer a whisper, it was a roar. The war that followed was a spectacle of chaos and fury. The Archangel Michael, clad in armor of blazing light, rose to meet the challenge. His sword gleamed with righteous fire, his resolve unshakable. On one side, God's faithful, their voices raised in defense of the Creator. On the other hand, Lucifer's rebels had their beauty twisted into wrath. The clash shook the heavens. Thunderous booms as celestial forces collided, flashes of brilliance as wills shattered. Lucifer fought with the ferocity of a fallen god, his pride driving every blow. But Michael, unwaveringly, met him, strike for strike, a beacon of divine justice against the tide of betrayal. The battle's end was inevitable. Lucifer's strength, though vast, could not rival the Creator's might. With a final devastating strike, Michael cast him down. The morning star fell, a blazing comet streaking through the void, his screams echoing as he plunged. His followers tumbled after him, a cascade of broken wings and fading light. Heaven expelled them all, their glory stripped away. When the dust settled, Lucifer was no more. He had become Satan, the adversary, his name now a curse. Banished to the shadows, he nursed his hatred, his beauty warped into malice. From that day, he vowed vengeance, not just against God, but against the fragile humanity God so cherished, setting the stage for an eternal war of souls. High above the fledgling earth, a group of angels known as the Watchers gazed down from their celestial perch. Among them stood Semyaza, their leader, a figure of quiet authority and piercing intellect. These beings were not warriors or heralds. but observers, tasked by God to watch over humanity's fragile beginnings. Imagine their vantage point, the world below, a tapestry of green and blue, its people simple, innocent, untouched by the weight of time. The watchers' eyes glowed with curiosity, their minds brimming with the secrets of the cosmos. They were keepers of knowledge, bound by divine law to hold it close, to let humanity unfold on its own. But Semyaza grew restless. Day after day, he watched the mortals toil, love, live, and die. A question gnawed at him. Why should they stumble in ignorance when he held answers that could lift them higher? His curiosity turned to longing, then to defiance. He gathered his followers, 200 strong, their wings rustling with unease. "We are more than mere spectators," he declared. "Let us descend. Let us share what we know." His words were a spark, igniting a fire of rebellion. The watchers, swayed by his vision, swore an oath on a windswept peak, binding their fates to his daring plan. Down they came, their descent a breathtaking sight. Figures of light piercing the sky, landing softly among the daughters of men. These women, awestruck, saw not just beauty, but power in their new suitors. Semyaza and his kin took them as wives, a decision that no angel should make. From these unions sprang the Nephilim, children born of heaven and earth. Picture them, giants towering over villages, their strength unmatched, their eyes glinting with an otherworldly fire. They were marvels, yes, but also monsters. Their appetites were vast, their tempers fierce. Fields withered under their feet. Blood stained the soil as they clashed with men and one another. The watchers did not stop at love. Semyaza unveiled forbidden knowledge, arts of the stars, the forging of tools, the weaving of spells. Humanity drank deeply, intoxicated by gifts they could scarcely grasp. But with wisdom came ruin. The violence of the Nephilim spread rapidly, causing villages to crumble in their wake. Greed and chaos choked the land. What began as a noble dream twisted into a nightmare. The earth groaned under the weight of their sins, its cries reaching the heavens. God looked down, his heart heavy with sorrow. His heart could not stand. The corruption was too deep, the stain too dark. His judgment came as water, a flood to drown the world's wickedness. The skies tore open, unleashing torrents that swallowed mountains and plains. The Nephilim, mighty as they were, could not outrun the deluge. Their roars faded beneath the waves. Humanity perished, except for Noah and his kin, who were spared to begin anew. The Watchers, their rebellion exposed, faced a harsher fate. Chains of shadow bound them, dragging them to the abyss, a prison of endless night. There they languish, their once bright forms dimmed, their voices silenced. Semyaza's dream had birthed giants and wonders, but it ended in devastation. The floodwaters receded, leaving a cleansed earth and a warning etched in the annals of time. Even angels can fall, and their fall can shake the world to its core. Azazel, a fallen angel, stood in the shadowy corners of the celestial hierarchy, his name destined to echo with infamy one day. Unlike the radiant warriors or watchful guardians, Azazel was a teacher, a being of cunning intellect and dangerous curiosity. Picture him, his eyes sharp as blades, glinting with secrets too potent for mortal minds. Once, he served God with quiet devotion, his spirit attuned to the mysteries of creation. But something shifted within him. Perhaps it was pride or a thirst to reshape the world in his image. Whatever it was, Azazel turned his gaze downward to the fragile humans scrambling in the dust below, and saw not just subjects, but a canvas for his ambitions. He descended to earth, not with the thunderous rebellion of Lucifer, but with a subtler intent. His arrival was a whisper, a shadow slipping into the lives of men and women. To the men, he offered the art of war, how to forge blades from cold metal, how to wield spears that pierced flesh and bone. Imagine their awe as he demonstrated, his hands steady, his voice low and commanding. Swords gleamed in the firelight, born of his instruction, and soon the air rang with the clash of steel. Blood spilled where once there had been peace. Violence, a seed he planted, bloomed into chaos across the land. To the women, Azazel brought a different gift. He taught them to paint their faces with colors drawn from the earth, reds, golds, and blacks, to adorn themselves with jewels that caught the sun. At first, it seemed harmless, a spark of beauty in their simple lives. But vanity took root. Mirrors became altars, their reflections gods. Pride swelled in their hearts, and with it came envy, division, and strife. Azazel watched, his lips curling into a faint smile. He had not forced their hands. He had merely offered tools, and humanity's weakness did the rest. The world tilted further into shadow under his quiet influence. His lessons didn't end there. He whispered of idols, statues to honor spirits, to worship power beyond God. Temples rose, crude at first, then grand, their altars stained with offerings. The people turned from the divine light, chasing the glitter of Azazel's promises. What had been a scattering of tribes became a web of corruption, warriors clashing, beauty twisted into obsession, faith warped into idolatry. The earth itself appeared to groan, its purity gradually disintegrating. Azazel stood apart, a silent architect of this slow decay, his hands unstained, yet heavy with guilt. God's patience, vast as it was, reached its limit. He saw the bloodshed, the vanity, the altars smoking with false devotion. His voice rolled like thunder across the heavens, summoning judgment. Azazel's fate was sealed. This time, Azazel faced a personal reckoning instead of a flood. Angels of light descended, their faces stern, their chains forged in divine fire. They seized him, his struggles futile against their might. Down he went, bound in darkness, cast into a pit where no light could reach. There he remains, shackled until the final day, when all will face the Creator's verdict. Azazel's legacy lingered, though, a stain on humanity's soul. His gifts had sparked progress, yes, but at a cost too steep to measure. The weapons clashed, mirrors reflected hollow pride, idols crumbled, yet left echoes of doubt. He had corrupted not with force, but with knowledge, proving that even the subtlest fall could unravel the world in ways no flood could wash away. The earth, once a garden of promise, had become a wasteland of sin. The fallen angels, Lucifer with his pride, Semyaza with his forbidden unions, and Azazel with his corrupting gifts, had left their mark. Humanity, fragile and impressionable, spiraled into darkness under their influence. The Nephilim, those towering giants born of angel and mortal, roamed the land like living storms. Their footsteps shook the ground. Their hands tore apart what little peace remained. Violence was their language, chaos their legacy. Villages burnt, fields lay trampled, and the cries of the innocent rose like smoke into the heavens. The world was drowning, not yet in water, but in its corruption. God looked down from his throne, his heart torn between love and justice. He had shaped humanity with care, breathed life into them, and set them free to choose. But this was no longer freedom. It was a prison forged by angelic rebellion and human weakness. The Watchers had taught secrets that twisted progress into ruin. Azazel's weapons had turned neighbors into enemies. The Nephilim's greed had devoured the earth's bounty. What had been a creation of beauty now festered, a wound too deep to heal with time alone. God's voice trembled with sorrow as he spoke the words that would change everything. The flood must come. Picture the heavens as they prepared. The skies, once a canopy of stars, darkened with purpose. Clouds gathered, thick and brooding, their edges crackling with divine intent. Below, the people laughed and fought, oblivious to the storm brewing above. The Nephilim strutted, their arrogance blinding them to the signs. Only Noah, a man of quiet faith, heard the warning. God's command was clear: build an ark, gather your family, preserve the innocent creatures. Noah obeyed. His hammer struck wood while the world mocked his labor. The ark rose, a hulking shadow against a doomed horizon, a lifeline amid the coming wrath. Then the rains began. The rain turned from a gentle shower to a deluge that roared from the heavens. The clouds split open, unleashing torrents that swallowed rivers and hills. The earth shuddered as waters surged from its depths, meeting the downpour in a cataclysmic embrace. The Nephilim, for all their might, could not stand against it. Their roars turned to gasps as waves dragged them under. Villages vanished, their ashes washed away. The watchers, bound in their abyss, could only listen as the world they'd corrupted drowned. Day after day, the flood raged, relentless, until silence fell, a silence heavy with the weight of divine cleansing. When the waters receded, the earth was reborn. Noah and his family stepped onto sodden ground, the air sharp with the scent of renewal. The animals scattered, seeds took root, and sunlight pierced the lingering mist. The flood had spared them, a remnant of hope amid the wreckage. But the fallen angel's fate was sealed. The watchers, once proud, languished in their dark prison, their rebellion reduced to echoes in the void. They awaited the final judgment, a day when their chains would break only to face eternal reckoning. The great flood was more than punishment. It was a reset, a mercy cloaked in fury. The corruption had been swept away, the Nephilim erased, and the earth given a second chance. Yet the memory lingered, etched into the rocks and rivers, a warning that even angels can fall, and when they do, the world trembles, until God's hand restores what was lost. In the shadowed annals of the fallen, there emerges a figure cloaked in mystery and menace, Beelzebub, a name that hums with dread. Known as the Lord of the Flies, he was no mere outcast angel, but a prince among the damned, his presence a blight on the ancient world. Picture him, not radiant like Lucifer once was, but shrouded in a buzzing darkness, a swarm of flies trailing his every step. His eyes glinted with malice, his voice a low drone that unsettled the air. To the Philistines, a people of the coastal plains, he was no demon, but a god. They raised altars in his name, their chants rising over smoky fires, their offerings laid bare to appease his wrath. Beelzebub's power was tied to decay. Plagues swept through their lands, fevers that burnt, sores that wept, flies that darkened the sky. The people saw his hand in every misfortune. Every swarm was a sign of his favor or fury. They trembled before him, their worship a desperate bid to stave off ruin. Imagine the scene: priests in tattered robes, their hands stained with sacrifice, invoking his name as the air thickened with the stench of rot. For them, he embodied the power of nature, a deity capable of controlling both life and death. His influence seeped into their bones, a dark thread woven into their culture's tapestry. Centuries passed, and Beelzebub's shadow stretched beyond the Philistines. The New Testament paints him anew, not just a pagan idol, but a demon of towering rank. The Pharisees, rigid in their piety, spat his name with venom. They accused Jesus, the healer, of wielding Beelzebub's power to cast out lesser spirits. Picture the tension. Marketplaces buzzing with whispers, crowds torn between awe and fear. Jesus stood calm, his words cutting through their scorn. He turned their charge on its head. How could Satan drive out Satan? Yet the accusation lingered, a stain meant to discredit, tying Beelzebub to a cosmic struggle between light and dark. What was he truly? A fallen angel, yes. Cast down with the rest, his beauty traded for corruption. Some say he rivaled Satan himself, a second in command in the infernal hierarchy. Others whisper he was a distinct force, carving his dominion amid the chaos. His title, Lord of the Flies, evokes more than insects. It's a symbol of filth, of things that fester and destroy. Imagine his laughter as cities crumbled under pestilence, his delight as faith faltered. He thrived in the cracks of human weakness, a puppeteer pulling strings of despair. The plagues of old were his signature, but his reach extended further, into hearts and minds. Beelzebub's role in demonology grew, a figure both feared and fascinating. Scholars pored over texts, tracing his origins: angelic rebel, pagan god, prince of demons. Each tale added layers to his legend. The flies became his emblem, a buzzing reminder of his presence. In quiet villages and grand temples alike, his name was spoken in hushed tones, a curse to ward off or a plea for mercy. He was no mere footnote, but a player in the eternal drama, a tempter who reveled in humanity's downfall. Even now, his echo lingers. Beelzebub stands as a testament to the fall, a being once divine, now twisted, his power rooted in ruin. Despite the disappearance of the Philistines and the dust on their altars, his shadow endures through stories and warnings. He is the plague bringer, the accuser, the lord of decay, a chilling reminder that evil wears many faces and some buzz louder than others. The tale of the fallen angels, Lucifer, Semyaza, Azazel, and Beelzebub, does not end with their banishment or binding. Cast from heaven, chained in darkness, or roaming the shadowed edges of existence, they endure, their influence a thread woven deep into the fabric of human history. Imagine them now, not as remote remnants of a vanished era, but as vibrant, restless entities, their murmurs echoing through the air. They are the architects of temptation, the sculptors of deception, the harbingers of evil, relentless in their mission to pull humanity from the light. Their rebellion against God was only the beginning. Their war continues, subtle and insidious, in every corner of the world. Think of Lucifer, now Satan, his beauty turned to cunning. He slithers through the ages, a serpent in the garden of every soul. His voice is smooth, offering power, pride, and freedom, just as he once promised his angelic legion. Kings have fallen to his flattery. Nations have crumbled under his lies. He doesn't wield a sword, but a mirror, reflecting humanity's darkest desires back at them. Imagine a merchant hoarding wealth, a leader consumed by control, each a pawn in his endless game. His throne is built on broken vows, his kingdom fueled by the chaos he sows. Satan's influence is a quiet roar, ever present, ever pulling. Semyaza and the Watchers, locked in their abyss, still cast long shadows. Their forbidden knowledge lingers, star charts etched in ancient stone, crafts passed down through generations. The Nephilim are gone, but their echoes persist in tales of giants, in the awe of things too vast to comprehend. The Watchers' sin was not just rebellion, but connection. They bridged heaven and earth, and that bridge never fully burned. Picture a scholar poring over forbidden texts, a seeker chasing mysteries beyond their grasp. These are the ripples of Semyaza's legacy, tempting minds to reach too far, too fast. Azazel's lessons endure in sharper edges. The clang of steel, the gleam of adornments, the pull of idolatry. These are his fingerprints on humanity's soul. Wars rage on, sparked by the weapons he taught. Vanity struts through cities, a parade of mirrors he once inspired. False gods rise and fall, their altars built on the pride he nurtured. Imagine a soldier sharpening his blade, a figure gazing at their reflection, a crowd bowing to a hollow idol. Azazel's chains may bind him, but his corruption flows free, a river poisoning the roots of the world. Beelzebub buzzes still. He flies a hum in the background of despair. Plagues may shift, disease, doubt, decay, but his touch remains. He thrives in the rot of faith, the collapse of hope. Picture a village gripped by fear, a heart turning from prayer. His shadow lingers there, delighting in the fall. He is the accuser, the tempter who twists truth into suspicion, unity into division. His power lies not in grand gestures, but in the slow unraveling of what holds humanity together. Together, these fallen angels weave a tapestry of influence that spans millennia. Religious traditions hold them as warnings, symbols of what happens when pride oversteps, when loyalty falters. They are the adversaries in every story of struggle, the voices urging defiance over surrender. Their ongoing war is not fought with fire, but with whispers, not with armies, but with choices. They seek to lead humanity astray, one soul at a time, their legacy a challenge to every heart. Resist or fall. The light still shines, but their shadows stretch long, daring us to step into the dark. As we come to the end of this exploration, I can't help but reflect on the weight of these stories. The tales of angels and fallen angels are more than ancient myths. They're mirrors reflecting our struggles with pride, ambition, and temptation. It's humbling to think that beings of such immense power and beauty could fall so far because of choices rooted in selfishness and rebellion. If even angels, created for perfection, were not immune to the pull of sin, how much more must we remain vigilant in our lives? These narratives remind me that every decision matters, no matter how small it may seem. They challenge us to examine the motivations behind our actions and consider whether we're building or breaking the world around us. The key lesson here is clear. Choice defines destiny. Whether it's Lucifer's pride, Azazel's corruption, or humanity's susceptibility to temptation, these stories underscore the enduring truth that our decisions shape not only our lives, but also the legacy we leave behind. Yet, they also point to hope. Despite the chaos sown by the fallen, there remains a path to redemption, for us, if not for them. This is a call to embrace humility, seek wisdom, and align ourselves with what uplifts rather than destroys. So, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it sit idle, or will you allow it to spark change? I encourage you to dig deeper, explore these stories, question their meaning, and engage in conversations about their relevance today. Share your thoughts with others. You might inspire someone else to see the world differently. Let's commit to making choices that honor the divine purpose within each of us. Together, we can shift the balance from darkness to light, one decision at a time.